Today we're going to talk about how to write two-step equations and inequalities. An equation is made up of basically three parts. The first one is the total amount. The second one is the one-time amount, so the fee that only happens once, or the starting or beginning amount. And the third thing is the repeated amount, the one that happens per, every, each, so the one that happens multiple times. This amount will have the variable next to it. So our example down here, our total is the one that it's equal to. The one-time amount, or the starting, is the b right here. And the repeated amount, the per, each, every, is the m, which is right here, right next to the variable. Now it doesn't matter which order it's in. The mx can be first or the b could be first. So just like over here, b is first, the mx is second. The total will always be on the other side of the equal sign. So here's our first example. The cost to rent a canoe at Silver Lake is $12, plus an additional charge of $4.50 per hour. If Sarah spends $39, write an equation that can be used to determine the number of hours she rented the canoe. So the first thing we're going to answer is, what is the question really asking for? And it's asking us to write an equation to figure out hours. How many hours she rented the canoe. So the total amount, as we see, if Sarah spends $39, so that is our total. The one-time fee, or the beginning fee, the starting, here would be the $12, because that is how much the cost of the canoe is to rent. And that happened just one time. As we keep reading, it says an additional charge of $4.50 per hour. So that is our that's our repeated amount. That's our repeated amount that happens each, every, or per. That's our big clue word right here is per. So that's our $4.50 right here. So our equation, if we put it in the y equals mx plus b form, our total amount is the y. So we can fill in from there. We have 39 equals the repeated amount, the m, 450, x, plus our b, which would be 12. Now it doesn't matter how you write it. If you wanted to write 450 x plus 12 equals 39, that is also acceptable. Just make sure that the m and x are together, and the b is that separate one-time thing, and your total is on the outside of the equal sign. So here's our second example. Billy has a gift card with a balance of $150. He buys several video games that cost $35 each. After the purchases, his gift card balance is $45. Write an equation to find out how many video games Billy bought. So the first thing is, what is the question asking for? It's to write an equation to help find out how many video games he bought. So the total amount, that's the amount after all of the purchases, is our $45, because that is our ending amount. Now the one-time amount, when we look up here, it says one amount can be the fee or the starting or beginning amount. So here we begin with a gift card balance of $150. So that is our starting amount. The repeated amount is a thing that happens multiple times. So here it would be our video games. So each video games he buys, it's $35. So our repeated amount is $35. So now we need to make our equation. Now we need to think about what's happening. We start with the $150, and each video game he buys, we are going down in money. So I would put the $150 first, and we are going to subtract, because every video game we lose money. That would be the $35. We're going to multiply it by how many ever he did, so that's represented by X. And at the end, we're going to be left over with $45. So if we were to use those letters from earlier, this is our B minus MX. So here's a list of inequality clue words. You're more than welcome to pause this video and read through these, but you also have them on your notes page. So now we're going to talk about writing an inequality. So to write an inequality, we have to determine the important information in the story and use that to help us. The first thing we look at is that clue word for the inequality that you found a list on the last slide. The second thing is we find the total amount. The third thing is the one-time amount. The fourth thing is the repeated amount. A lot of the exact same steps as an equation, we just now are adding in, instead of an equal sign, we have an inequality sign. And we really need to pay attention to the clue words. So here's our example for an inequality. It says a video game enthusiast saved $750 to spend on an Xbox One and games. The Xbox One costs $400. The games cost $49 each. Write an inequality to help determine at most how many games the enthusiast could buy along with the Xbox One. So now we need to figure out what is the question asking for. And it is asking for us to write an inequality. Now this inequality can be used to figure out how many games plus Xbox One could he buy. Now, what clue word / symbol should be used here? The thing that sticks out to me most is at most, right here, at most. That tells us that at the very most, we can spend $750. So let's write that right here, at most. Now we need to figure out which symbol we are going to use. So if we look at our rules, at most is right here, and that is in the less than or equal to. So that's what we need to put, less than or equal to. Then we need to figure out the rest for our equation. The total amount that he could spend is what he saved, because you can't spend more than you have. So that's our $750. The one-time thing would be the Xbox One, because he's only buying one console. So that's our $400. And the repeated amount would be the video games, because he wants as many video games as possible. And that would be our $49. So now we need to write our inequality. So we have our one-time amount. We're going to add our repeated amount. Remember, the repeated amount always has that X right next to it. We said we were going to use the less than or equal to sign. And then our total amount of $750. Now this reads $400 for the Xbox One plus $49 for each video game times X, which represents the amount of video games, is less than or equal to $750. So what he spends has to be less than or equal to what he has saved.